to today's episode of 31 Nights of Horror. We are now halfway through the series, so hopefully you've watched plenty of them and you've found some new horrors that you've never seen before. Today is the film
An American Werewolf in London.
It is.
Yeah, classic.
It is.
Definite classic.
It is. It's taken me a long time to see this one.
It is. I'm quite surprised that you haven't seen it.
I thought I had, but apparently I've seen American Werewolf in Paris.
Which is
when I was a lot younger, so I don't really remember that one either.
Yeah, this one is the one that everyone knows about. This is the one that had the amazing special effects people on. In fact, before I go into the synopsis, the special effects were so impressive for this one that Michael Jackson got in contact and the whole special effects group did the Thriller video.
Yeah, I thought it really familiar.
Yeah, the director of this film directed the Thriller video, and I think it was Rob Barker, who was the actual special effects guy. He came on board to do all the stuff for the Thriller video. So
it looks like the same sort of effect.
The transformation, yeah definitely. Yeah, I mean we'll get into it a bit later, but basically American Werewolf in London, we start off, I want to say up north London, up north England. Probably, yeah.
Midlands. Yeah.
And we're introduced to David and Jack, two American travellers, and they are going across the moors and all the fields, and they stumble upon a pub called the Slaughtered Lamb, which is full of some weird locals. And the weird locals, they upset the weird locals because of a pentagram? The pentagram, and they kick them out, but they tell them to stay off the moors and beware of the moon. Well, obviously,
stick to the roads, don't listen.
Being cocky Americans, they don't listen, and they end up going across the moors. They get attacked by some animal, obviously a werewolf. Poor old Jack gets mauled to death. David just gets attacked. He wakes up in the hospital in London, and before long he starts seeing visions of his friend Jack, who is mauled.
Looking all gory.
Brilliant gore. And Jack tells him he has to commit suicide, otherwise he will turn into a werewolf and kill people, and the people that he kills will be set in like a limbo where they have to walk the earth. Upon doing this, David meets the nurse. Her name escapes me right now, which is quite bad, but she offers him a place to stay, obviously fancying him. Literally, they're in the shower together straight away. And then she goes to work the next day. Jack comes along and warns David again, and then we get the most famous part of the film, the transformation scene, where he turns into the werewolf. He goes off, I think he attacks like 6 people in the first night, and then he gets back to normal again, wakes up in the zoo, runs back to the nurse, and then he runs away from her because he hears about the attacks and obviously decides that he is a werewolf.
He wants to hand himself in, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the culmination of the film is he goes to a dirty porno theatre where Jack is showing him his victims and telling him he must kill himself. And then we get one last transformation. He turns into the werewolf and wreaks havoc on Leicester Square. Leicester Square. Yeah, I was trying to think if it was Piccadilly or Leicester. It's Leicester Square. And then right at the end, the police shoot and kill David, and then it ends. It ends. And first of all, we have to discuss the famous bit of the film, the transformation.
One of the most famous bits of cinema history, really.
It still lives up today. It is still amazing. It is so amazing.
It's so horrible to watch.
Yes, because
it's so painful.
Before I watched this film, I've already watched werewolf films before, but before I watched this film, you never sort of take in the fact that obviously if you're turning into a werewolf, your bones are completely changing position.
They're breaking and stretching and remolding.
And like the snout growing out of his face and that. You don't think about stuff like that, but then when you see this film, that transformation, it looks so painful.
The claws are coming out of his thing, just a little thing like they were coming out.
Yeah,
and
the last
the blood, you get to see
transformation.
their blood as they're coming out. It's just like
Yeah, the last transformation where the werewolf fingernails break through his normal human fingernails and stuff like that. One thing I would say about the transformation scene is the transformation scene is so good that when you finally see the werewolf in its fully form at the end, kind of a letdown, because when he's an actual fully formed werewolf, it looks like a big shaggy dog. That's what I thought. It's like a big massive dog
like
sort of
they're taking it
thing.
a bit too far. Like
it's obviously based on a dog.
But if they'd kept it slightly more human looking, like the transformation, then it's more believable, isn't it?
Well, like the end transformation when you see him having the snout and everything, that's what you expect the werewolf to look like. But when you see it, it's just like all fur. It's like all fur and then this massive set of teeth. And I think that's kind of a letdown on the werewolf. Yeah, kind of like, you know, like the big dogs you can get that are kind of bear-like.
Pomeranians.
Maybe, yeah, actually, because they're quite furry at the front, aren't they? Yeah.
They're like little polar bears.
Yeah, which kind of is, it kind of brings it down, but the transformation scene is obviously amazing, and the gore in this film is pretty awesome. It's very good gore. I mean, the first time you see Jack, he looks horrible. He's like massive claw marks down him, and like I pointed it out to you, didn't I? He got like a little flappy bit of skin when he talks, and it just flaps.
That's awesome. Makes me want to get my gore kit out. That's what I'm
Yes, it makes me think about Halloween a lot. And not only that, a cool little effect that happens through the film is, whilst Jack keeps popping up, I think he pops up like 3 or 4 times, doesn't he? He's decomposing more and more each time, to the fact that when he's in the porno theatre, he's got practically no skin on his face.
There's like he's got his eyeballs sticking out, popping out of his head, and there's like no flesh around them.
No, it's just teeth and that. It's just. It's a really well thought out process, and like he just looks horrible.
Considering the time, was this the 70s, 80s?
I think this is the 80s.
If it was early 80s.
Yeah, I think so. I know another film that came out around this time, The Howling.
Yep.
That was being filmed around the same time, and I think that's 1981.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it must be.
For the time though. 10 out of 10 for effort on horror and gore. I mean, like.
Well, even now.
Fantastic effects.
Even now, you sort of look at it now, and the effects are still amazing, and the gore is really still hugely like. There's this one bit where the guy goes out the back to try and find like his friends that have just been attacked by a werewolf, and you just see this massive bloody arm, and like just some of the deaths you see, like when you get shown the victims of the werewolf, they're like so bloody and horrible and everything. The gore is really good in this film. I mean, there are a lot of problems with this film, I thought. I think the good outweighs the bad, but like the relationships between the characters are so paper thin. It's unreal. The only people that you feel actually have a relationship are Jack and David, and that's because they seem to have that past. But like the nurse, like all he did was kiss her in the room, and all of a sudden she was having him stay over, and they were shagging in the shower, and then they were in love. I mean, this all basically happens from the time he wakes up in the hospital to the time he gets shot by the werewolf. I think that's like 3 or 4 days. And
like, it's quite serious. They go.
It's very serious. They're like falling in love and everything. And the problem I have, I mean, you can do that, but the problem I have with that is the end is supposed to be such an emotional scene, isn't it? Because obviously she says, like, basically what happens at the end is he is cornered as the werewolf, and she runs in front of the police, and she tells him she loves him, and I think you thought it was going to happen. You're supposed to have that scene where he goes, "Oh, I love you,"
and then you see the eyes change, and then they start.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen in this film. He's a werewolf, so he goes to attack. He literally doesn't even think twice, and then as he goes to attack, he gets completely slaughtered by the police.
And then he turns back into a human, but obviously he's full of bullet holes.
Yeah, and she's left crying. But the problem, what I was saying was, because this relationship is supposed to be built over like 3 or 4 days, you can't get invested in that scene. You can't sort of like go, well, that's a really heartfelt scene.
But the film is only an hour and a half. Do you think if it had been 2 hours and they'd have a good build up of the story, you would have wanted to have seen that? Would you have thought that had been just filler? Or would you have enjoyed seeing more of them? Because I think, thinking about it, I think I would have done, but I'm not too sure because would there have been enough horror in there if there'd been an extra half an hour?
Yeah, because I feel watching it that other than the times where he's either turning or he is a werewolf, there is a lot of filler in this film.
Considering it is only an hour and a half.
Yeah, like the doctor goes back to the slaughtered lamb, and it's like, how did he know to go to that pub? It was so weird, and like, I mean, the residents of that town, that seemed to go nowhere as well, didn't it? Because they were like trying to cover everything up.
It was almost like a really shit version of the village people from Wicker Man.
Yeah,
or they're like all the local people that we don't tell anybody our customs and stuff.
Yeah, or you quoted, is it League of Gentlemen as well? We don't like strangers around here. Yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, like, just they were so thin on the ground for relationships. The story, I mean, like I said, she literally gets a kiss from him and she's got him around her house. You know, that was basically just them trying to make it so that he was staying in London whilst he was transforming and wasn't in a hospital at the time. You know, it's just a good little touch that we did notice was they play a few songs during the film, and every single song in the film has Moon in the title, which is like Blue Moon is the main song and everything. That's really cool. I really liked that little touch. Yeah, and like, if you think about it, you know, they had four days to create this loving relationship. He disappeared for one of those days.
And she didn't seem that annoyed. She was like, oh, you know, he's like, I'm going crazy. She's like, you know, oh.
Yeah, and like, he turns up after disappearing, and he's like trying to dive on top of her, isn't she? And she's like, oh yes, he just wants me a lot and that, and then they go out for a day out.
It's enthusiasm.
Yeah, and it's like, would you not be like, well, hold on, this is the first time I really know.
Where have you been? Loads of murders went on last night. It was a full moon. You're suspicious.
You know, you're staying here as a guest, you know, sort of thing. It was like, there was.
Why are you wearing a woman's coat?
Yeah, he came home just wearing a woman's coat. He was naked,
but
except
it wasn't
for this
even
discreet.
Coat. It was like fur, massive fur collar, and like prostitute red. It was like
definitely. And he stole his little boy's balloons.
Worst kid ever.
Yeah, don't stay in act. I hope you didn't stay in acting, little boy, because you were awful.
Oh, maybe you should have stayed because you need to learn some stuff.
To be fair, no one in this film went on to great things other than an extra in a pub. Yeah. The extra in a pub was, if you watch it, you'd realise Rick Mail, who, you know, Young Ones, Drop Dead Fred, Bottom, that sort of thing. He's the only person that became famous from this film. It's insane. You'd have thought quite a few people would have got famous
from a classic,
this. Yeah, definitely. It's just, some of this film, it had a lot of problems. It was, I mean, I think the thing that saves this film, other than the transformation, is the little touches. The little touches are certain. Like, for instance, the songs all having Moon. Him waking up in the zoo. He wakes up in the zoo with the wolves, and he's naked, but the wolves are like rushing around him, trying to see what. Because obviously, if you really thought about it, if he's a werewolf, he'd be the alpha male of a wolf pack.
Of course.
And the wolves were all around him, like trying to snuggle up to him and that as he woke up. That's a really cool touch.
And he woke up quite scared because obviously he doesn't remember what's happened the night before. When you wake up surrounded by wolves, you're like, ah, shit.
That's the sort of touch that if you notice it, it's such a good touch.
It is
and
really good.
Like I said, the makeup for the victims rotting, you know, I really like that touch.
Quite inspiring, actually.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, I mean, personally, I think that there's no other werewolf film come out since it that can touch this film.
What about before it?
No. This is like
It's the
werewolf film I like. I mean, I liked Dog Soldiers and I liked Ginger Snaps, but they're like totally different to this film. And Dog Soldiers is one of those ones that I think I only liked because I watched it as a teenager, and it's like, this is a film about werewolves, this is quite cool, sort of thing. But I mean, I'm not a huge fan of werewolves, but this is definitely I think it's a great film. Despite its flaws. There are many flaws. And it's another one, I think I discussed it in a video not too long ago for this, that it reminds me of Hammer House of Horror because of the way it's like shot, because it's like that low budget English horror, and I've always got a real soft spot for those sort of
And the
horrors.
acting's kind of so naff, but yeah, it makes it quite charming, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah,
it's a bit
because
pants, but I kind of like it
because
anyway.
no one
It's
in this
good.
film was standout when it came to acting.
No,
I mean, I think Jack was quite good, the friend, and maybe David was alright, but the nurse, she wasn't that good. And the doctor / wannabe policeman, you know, who just, yes, so I had this victim at hospital. He claimed he was a werewolf.
Doctor, to be officer, to be fair.
I
don't think he was that good.
He was awful at everything he did. He just, like, he's a doctor in a hospital. Someone mentions werewolf. Well, I'm going to go and travel up north to go to this pub to find out what's going on.
Don't pick up the phone.
What?
Don't make a phone call.
No.
Check he was even there.
It's ridiculous. But as it goes to ratings, I mean, it's a solid 7.
Oh,
at
you
least.
do that every time.
What?
I was going to say 7, and I was going to say solid 7.
Oh, sorry.
Future, I'm doing rating first.
Oh, okay.
Because it sounds like I'm just copying him, when actually I just agree.
Jeez,
But I
that's
think it
amazing.
serves. I think it serves a good 7 because it is a good film. There's a lot of flaws, but it's enjoyable, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much.
No.
No, and I like it, but it's like little bits and pieces, like you say, the gore and the little touches. So I'll definitely be watching it again. But yeah.
Yeah, I really
good.
like it,
It's
and
good.
I think sadly it's remembered for the transformation scene.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to
Yeah.
watch this film for. I mean, just if you're just like one of those people that like special effects, you know, just to
Yeah,
see the
watch it.
victims. The victims are really good. In fact, I'd say the transformation scene is amazing, but I'd say the gore on Jack the first
Yeah.
time you see him is just as good as the transformation scene. Just for like having that little touch of the flap of skin, and, you know, you can see the bone going down his neck and everything.
He moved his hand at one point, and you could see that there was like just nerves or something. Just
Yeah,
hanging,
it
like,
was just
was
there's
awesome.
such good touches on it.
Yeah,
and I
the
think that-
deterioration process was just fantastic.
yeah, the way he decomposed was brilliant, and like I think it's one of those ones that I want to say the film is underrated. It's more known for one scene.
Yeah.
But I think the film overall is very underrated. I mean, it should be the film that everyone thinks of when it comes to werewolves. Sadly, it's not. You know, I mean, probably
No,
nowadays
Other
it's
TV,
Twilight.
yeah,
and
I
stuff
wasn't
like
going to
that.
say it, but
Yeah, it's probably stuff like
Other
that. I mean,
things.
this is the sort of film that you should be looking at for a werewolf film.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was American Werewolf in London. You know, classic. If you haven't watched it, please do. It is a very good film. And we have sadly,
Oh, it's different, this one. You're not going to guess what the next one is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can guess what the
we
next one
had
is.
a film lined up. We have sadly had a request.
We've had to move one off. We did say we were going to do it if someone made a suggestion, and we're doing this because
to
I
be
think...
true to our words.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be shocking. I actually...
I'm not looking forward to this.
I'm not, but I am in a way because I know how... I know I've not seen it before, but I know it's going to be horrible. And for that reason, I guess it's kind of good because it means we know we're going to be shocked.
Well,
It's going to be disgusting. I'm really not looking forward to it.
yeah, it's Human Centipede 2. We've been told to watch number 2 because the person who wanted us to watch this got me to watch the first one. You know who you are, okay? You're sitting there watching. Got me to watch the first one, and he knows how much I really didn't like the first one.
I didn't mind the first one actually, but I know a few things that happen in the second one that I'm not looking forward to.
No, and like the first one infuriated me.
I hope you've seen it, making us watch this.
Yeah, he has.
He has. Good. No.
Or she. Oh, we can't reveal who it is. But yeah, the first one infuriated me so much. It wasn't shocking; it was just infuriating. So I'm really not looking forward to this one. He or she has done this to just torture us and literally to see our reaction. So thanks for that. Even though, on another note, I do want to say thanks everyone for your comments. We have been reading them. We have enjoyed reading your comments. We do love your comments, and I think we had a few from The Shining and Psycho and everything. I think one comment was that we moved him so much to actually go and watch the film, and that's amazing. That's
what this is kind of what this is about, you know.
That is amazing. That's brilliant. You literally keep your comments coming because we love reading them,
and we really will listen to what you're saying.
Definitely,
and change.
Definitely. I mean, we've only just been told that they want this film. I mean, you've seen it live on the videos. James sat there on The Shining one and said, "Do Hills Have Eyes," and we did Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, do a video response telling us what you want us to see.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, just do anything you want. We love your comments. We love your feedback. So keep them coming. And we will see you tomorrow for The Human Centipede.
And we're just gonna not be impressed in the slightest.
You will see. It will be our live reaction. So I mean, we might be surprised. We might have a sadistic side to us and like
Film
it.
of the year.
Yeah,
no, it probably won't be.
But probably not.
We'll see you then.
See you then. Bye.